statement today is going to be short. Thank you for joining us today once more for our daily update on the status of COVID-19 pandemic in Kenya and our response to it. There will be a substantive statement provided tomorrow about those measures. So for today, I will confine my statement to providing you with the numbers that we have over the past 24 hours. Before I get into the numbers, I want to take this opportunity to extend our gratitude to all Kenyans for working with the government and in complying with and adhering to all the measures that have been gradually. The compliance has been good, and we do appreciate for that compliance, because it is those measures that result in cycles. At the same time, while we are seeing good compliance, of course there are also errant members of our society who continue to flout these measures. And we have stressed overly on that those errant Kenyans may be exposing to other Kenyans and to them too, they adhere to the measures that have been put in place. We understand that these measures are not easy. They are difficult measures. They have created a lot of inconveniences, but that is the only way that we can be able to fight the virus, by sustaining the containment of the virus. Equally, I want to thank those communities that we have put a focus on in the last couple of weeks, especially the communities of Eastleigh and Old Town Mombasa, where additional measures have been placed on those communities of resettlement, and the focus that we have placed on testing those communities. I want to thank those communities for their cooperation and for turning out to be tested in the numbers that we have seen, so that we are able to determine the level of transmission of the virus within those communities. We thank them, and knowing that most of them are of the Muslim faith, this being the month of Ramadan, a very difficult month for Muslims, we appreciate the efforts that they have made in coming out to be tested and being able to bear with the tough measures that have been put in place in their localities. In the last 24 hours, we have tested 2,100 persons, and we have confirmed that 781 of these are positive for coronavirus. The cases spread as follows. No, sorry. Let me correct that. We have tested 2,100 cases over the last 24 hours. Out of these cases, we have 23 that have tested positive. This brings to 781 the total number of cases that have turned positive. The cases are distributed as follows. In Nairobi, 11 cases. In Mombasa, 5 cases. Kajiado, 3 cases. Kiambu, 2 cases. And Wajir, 2 cases. In Nairobi County, the 11 cases are from Embakasi, 6, Kamkunji, 2, Langata, 2, and Starehe, 1. In Mombasa, all the cases are from Mvita, 5 cases. In Kiambu, the cases are from Thika, and the 2 cases in Wajir sub-county. In Kajiado, the 2 cases are truck drivers from Namanga border point and 1 from Bisil in Kajiado Central. In terms of disaggregation, 5 are females and 18 are males, with ages ranging between 24 years and 85 years. Consistent with the growing number of losses we're making over the last 24 hours, we have lost 3 more patients to COVID-19. Of course, each loss of life and fatality is a tragedy, and we pray that Almighty God comforts the loved ones that have departed and rests their souls in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid. Now you have your chance to ask a few questions. And as usual, please, as you get the opportunity, do not forget to mention your name and the media house that you represent. And also keep them fairly short so that as many of your colleagues can also get the opportunity to ask questions. So who would wish to go first? Yes, Stephen.
I have a question with regard to the borders. What other measures is government looking at to ensure that it brings into the border management? Number 2 is about the testing of the truck drivers at the border. Majority of them keep bringing complaints that their test results are taking too long and they are transporting perishable goods. So how long does it take? Because some say they have been at the border for more than 9 days. And my other question, and the final one, is there is a strange illness in children that has been reported in the US and Paris. The doctors there are calling it something inflammatory syndrome. Is that a concern also for Kenya, especially for parents who are having young children, because it's more the same with COVID-19? Thank you.
My name is Purity Mose from KBC.
Yes.
Staying with the U.S., the testing agent, known as the Abbott Laboratories Speed Coronavirus, has agreed that there could be some fault with the testing, with the results, and they have said, or they have confirmed to the U.S. that they will be doing some repetitive tests to just ensure there are no fault with the results. Probably you can help us understand the accuracy of our testing here in the country, because also several countries have also been faulting the testing equipment or the kits that are being used.
Okay? Yeah. Yes, I got the question.
Any other?
All right. In that case, we're keeping it short today with 2 questions. Stephen Latoy, citizen. You asked about what we are doing at the border points. And I think specifically you must be addressing the Tanzanian border. That has been of interest to us in the last week or so. The truck drivers, you say, are complaining that don't wait to get their results and that they are carrying perishable goods. Let me say that COVID-19 has put everything has disrupted almost everything. So it does not respect convenience. The disease does not respect convenience. So it's not going to be convenient to anybody. The testing at the border, I mentioned, I think, day before yesterday in the brief, that we are doing all that we can to try to get tests to the points where they're really needed so that we can cut down on the turnaround time or the wait time, so that, especially at the border, so that truckers can proceed on their journey. But you know also overall we have said that going forward what we are going to require is that truckers must possess a COVID-free certificate when they begin their journey. In that way, then they will border without having to be held back for testing. So that might apply for truck drivers that we test within the country as they move out of our borders. But equally, that kind of a program must be reciprocated by the other side of the border so that they can enter without having to be delayed at the border. If you remember, I said in Tanzania, most of the tests that we are doing is we are even crossing over the border to the other side for those truck drivers who are waiting to enter and taking samples from them and testing. That takes time then because those samples need to be moved to Nairobi or at the closest place to be tested. I mentioned too that we will be this coming week mobilizing a mobile laboratory which we are going to place at Namanga border point. And the idea of that is really to exactly deal with this problem of wait time so that tests can be done right there at the spot, given to the truck drivers at that point. However, I also want to tell you that the test that is used for testing COVID-19 is not a simple test. It is not the 10-minute or 15-minute test. The nucleic acid-based test or the molecular-based test can take anything from 5 to 8 hours to obtain a test on the spot. So there will still be a delay. There will still be the issue of perishables to deal with. But for one to be able to be allowed now to proceed with their journey, the test results must be out before they can proceed with their journey. So by bringing the test there, we will cut down on time, but the test has got its own time limit that there is not much that can be done about. No matter which system you use, whether it's a manual system or an automated system, that time is what it takes to obtain a result from that test. I want to tie that to the question from Purity on, and I will come back to the illness, on the accuracy of test results that I have also seen in the internet. I want to say that most of the problems with test results are with the rapid test. The rapid test is an antibody-based test. It detects antibody in the blood and determines whether if he turns out positive, it indicates that the individual at some point was exposed to the virus. It does not tell you that the virus is present. The test that we use, which is the gold standard now, is this nucleic acid-based test, which once it tests based on antibody that have been produced since COVID-19 pandemic. Very many of them. They have been produced very quickly. And generally, with rapid diagnostic tests that are based on antibody detection, there are some problems of what is called specificity. That is being able to pick the type of pathogen that you're looking for, and also problems to do with sensitivity, how accurate they are in picking what you're looking for. Generally, you do get what is called false positives or false negatives with these types of tests. And I think the Abbott test that you refer to, it is actually their antibody-based test, which now requires to be relooked and be assessed again. However, for diagnosis of coronavirus, the preferred test remains the nucleic acid-based test. Okay. We in Kenya have not started using any of these rapid diagnostic tests. They may have value in giving us an indication of how many people within a community may have been exposed to a virus by virtue of detecting antibody to the virus in their blood. And they may have a use at that time, but right now we are not using them because they need to be properly assessed and validated before we use them for that specific purpose. The strange illness that you refer to, which has been seen in children in the US and many other places, yes, it has been reported. We have not seen any of those within the number of patients that we have, the 700 and so patients that we have. If we break those down, we do have quite a number of children, as you know, we have reported, but we have no report of seeing any unusual manifestations such as the one that was described in the US and other places. That is an evolving area, an evolving pathogenicity of the virus, particularly in young children, that I think in due time we will learn more and see. Perhaps because of their numbers, it also depends on the frequency of these occurrence. Perhaps of the large numbers that have been seen that are infected in the US, you might be able to pick up if the frequency is very low. We may not see that in our numbers because our numbers are low. So we remain vigilant to be able to see whether we do pick up this type of a disease within our population. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you again tomorrow.
Done?
Hamjambo Wakenya wenzangu, mimi ni Mheshimiwa Mize. Ninalotaka kuambia ni kuwasihi ya kwamba korona iko, na ili tupigane nayo na tuishinde, ukitoka nje, ukifika kule nje, kuna hata maji yamewekwa nje na serikali, unanawa mikono